What would be the response to an embarrassing sweep in Oakland for our Angels? Well, how about a just as pathetic performance here on Friday in Chicago? We'll talk about that embarrassing 5-1 defeat for another loss on today's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. I'm Gavin Carlson. I spent 4 years as a credentialed official journalist in the Los Angeles area, and I'm now, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I am, of course, the postcast host for our abysmal, atrocious Angels. I'm running out of adjectives to describe this team right now. It is so infuriating. So frustrating. If you somehow don't know, the Angels fell once again. This time 5-1 to the Cubs at Wrigley Field to open up another series against a team well below 500. Another favorable matchup that just a few days ago, we were talking about being the final stretch, the final series of this very favorable stretch in which the Angels were going to have a winning record. They were going to, after their 6-game win streak, have another 5 or 6 game streak or win, 6 out of 8 or something like that. No. The Angels roll over. If you like watching your team do absolutely nothing, get complete gamed again for the second time in 3 games, then this is the team for you, man. 5-1 the final, just 2 hits. The starting pitching for the Angels was not great. The bullpen wasn't great, but the lineup, above all else, was atrocious. 1 run, generous for this team. Just 2 hits. We'll talk about all of it on today's postcast. First and foremost, shout out to everybody in here. Got a nice crowd. Daniel Barry always leading us off. He says, hey, everyone, happy Friday. I just got to say, I made the mistake. And we'll get into the ad read and all that in a second, but I'm going to be transparent with you as always. I made the mistake today of thinking of having hope, not even that the Angels would win the game, but that they would show life. Obviously, it's around 2:20. The game ended at like 1:40 or something. Normally, I'm on here like 10 minutes after the game, 15. I try to give you guys some time to stroll in after the game ends, blow off some steam after a loss, and then come in. Obviously, a little bit later today. I will be fully transparent. I made the mistake of assuming this game would last 2.5 hours, like a normal baseball game in 2024. I assumed the Angels would at the very least, have 6 hits or something and not have their innings go by in 3 seconds. I was actually at a sports bar. I'm wearing a soccer hat today. I am a soccer fan, in addition to being, sadly, an Angels fan, in addition to loving the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, and even at times the NHL. I am a soccer guy. It is the Euros. I had a friend or two that were in town. I'm in the Bay Area. I was like, all right, big game on. It's on right now. We'll see what happens. France and Portugal. And I was like, okay, we're going to go watch the game at this sports bar. Simultaneously, I'm going to be, of course, watching the Angels on my phone. I had an AirPod in one ear, listening to the broadcast at times. At other times, I was making sure I was being a social human being. But I made the mistake of going, okay, this soccer game starts at 12. It's going to end at like 1:45. And then the Angel game starts at 11:20. Normally games nowadays are like 2.5 hours. So this game will end at, 1:50. So I'm like, okay, they're going to end at similar times. I'll drive home. I already had everything set up. Of course, I watched the game, so I was already, prepared with notes and stuff. And I'd go live at I had it scheduled for 2:30, but maybe 2:15, like it is right now. But that was assuming that the Angels were actually going to put up even remotely a fight, even have any sense of competence, and make this game last more than this game went by in 2 hours, right? I'm not tripping. This game went by in 2 hours. The Angels came out to bat, and in a blink of an eye, it was already the next inning. The blink of an eye. So I apologize for being 20-ish minutes later than I normally would like to be after a game ends and when the show begins. If you're new here, normally I'm live 10 minutes after the game, give everyone time to get in, and then we're live. But I made the mistake today of thinking I could time things correctly and have the game be a normal length of a game. But boy, we did not get that at all. So with all that being said, shout out to everybody in here. Shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And with all that being said, where do I even start? We've had rants in back-to-back postcasts because we had back-to-back performances that were worthy of rants. And honestly, this game is probably, if it wasn't coming off of 2 rants the previous 2 games, this game is probably rant-worthy as well. Because a baseball team that is coming off one of the worst 3-game performances I've ever seen, in which you get outscored by the A's 17-5, in which you have back-to-back 5-0 shutout losses, in which you give up a complete game shutout, the first by an A's rookie since 2015, the first shutout overall by an A's pitcher since 2021. You do all of that. You're 2 games removed from that shutout, by the way, and you give up a complete game again. A complete game again. This time to Justin Steele. Another name that is not at the top of many lists. Now, to be fair, he has been great this year. In 13 games started now, a 1-3 record, but a 2.95 ERA. A 1 exactly whip. So he has been good. This is not Joey Estes, who came into the game with a 5+ ERA, and the Angels got complete game shut out by him. Greg Maddux. This was at least a little bit more of a competent pitcher, but still, it's 2024. Teams don't even let their starters go into the 7th inning anymore. And 2 times in 3 games, the Angels have given up complete games to the opposing pitcher. They've shown no life, no fight, no passion, no nothing. And I'm not going to rant, but one thing that I will say that really annoyed me just now before I went live, I really had to go on MLB.com, quickly pull up the game day, the box score, everything, just to be ready for the show. And I really had to read a headline that says, Taylor Ward's big day, not enough, as Angels lose 5-1 to Cubs. And I said, did I miss something? Big day? Taylor Ward goes 1 for 4 with an RBI and a strikeout. And he makes 1 catch that is even remotely competent. And we're talking about big day. That's how low this team has fallen. That a guy can go 1 for 4 in the leadoff spot, by the way, where you get more at-bats than anybody, obviously. You can go 1 for 4, happen to get 1 RBI in the 5th inning when your team's already down 3-0. And that's considered a big day. There are no words to describe how ridiculous that headline is, how embarrassing that is the case for the Angels. Taylor Ward hits leadoff, which, I don't know. We get to see Kevin Pillar hit, thank goodness, but surprise, you didn't play him for 2-3 weeks. Now he's no good anymore. 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. O'Hoppe with an 0 for 4. Drury with an 0 for 3. He had a walk, but he struck out. Zach Neto's having a horrible stretch. He goes 0 for 3 again. Keston Hiura, we finally got Keston Hiura. They called him up. The most excitement of the game, it was easily seeing him get a hit and score the only run of the game. If you don't know who Keston Hiura is, I think it's Hiura. SoCal guy, UC Irvine College from Valencia, California. I actually have family down there. Was absolutely tearing it up in minors this year. If you don't somehow listen to the Locked On Angels daily podcast with the Frisch Bros, go listen to their podcast. They had a show where they spent 10-15 minutes talking exclusively about Keston Hiura because he was hitting in the 400s or something. He's kind of one of those guys who came through the minors quickly, was drafted in the first round, the 9th overall pick. We're familiar with those type of guys that did not, live up to that draft pick. With the Brewers, was just kind of average, ended up in minors, DFA'd, all that stuff, was tearing it up this year in minors. He's 27. All right, we'll call him up. We'll DH him. He goes 1 for 3. Good for him. It's one of the 2 hits of the game for the Angels. You come up from minors, you have 1 hit, and you have literally had half of the team's offensive production. Absolutely insane. Adele, 0 for 3. You don't even need me to tell you that for you to already know that that's the case. The only question is Is it 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, or is it 0 for 4? Did he get enough at plate appearances to have 4 appearances without a hit and maybe 3 strikeouts? No strikeouts today for Joe Adell. You're still 0 for 3. You're still hitting 184. So no, he stinks. I don't know why he's hitting every day. 0 for 3, 1 strikeout. Everybody was awful. Samuel was 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Just absolutely nothing. No creativity. No, to be fair, no opportunity to be creative. No opportunity for a hit and run, for a sack bunt, for a suicide squeeze, even though it's not worked out, for a stolen base. There's no opportunity for any of it because the Angels had 2 hits and 2 walks. That was it. 4 base runners the whole game. 1 runner left in scoring position, 1 for 2 with 1 runners in scoring position. Absolutely embarrassing. The Cubs were 3 of 10 with runners in scoring position. They left a lot of guys out there. 6 runners left on base. And still, the easiest win of the season for them, just about. Just absolutely cruising through it. So the offense does absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. That headline with Taylor Ward really annoyed me. The guy goes 1 for 4, and he's the MVP. The same way yesterday, I don't even remember who it was, had 2 hits and was the player of the game. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's infuriating. And yeah, the season's over. We know that. It's been over. But talk about making sure that no one got too high after that 6-game winning streak. How about you just immediately respond with 5 consecutive losses? They'll probably lose tomorrow. And they'll completely eliminate that 6-game win streak with a 6-game losing streak. And we'll be right back to 16 games under 500. If you don't know, the Angels now 36-51. Absolutely disgraceful. So, with all that being said, when we come back, I'm going to tell you about the reason the Angels' defense and pitching was not great either. Griffin Canning with another rough start. He's slowly creeping up into bad territory, almost a 5+ ERA, almost getting to that territory of a veteran that clearly should be a trade candidate for our Angels, but has been so bad that you might not even want to trade him because you might not get anything for him. He's creeping into that territory, which is an absolute disaster. But we'll talk about his start that did not go well, and we'll talk about other stuff. I don't even know, man. I'm just so angry. But we'll talk about more after our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Now, with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rivals' cities. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city. I've said it many times now. In 9 days, I'll be going to New York, thanks to Booking.com. And for me, I use the app. Call me a Gen Z or Gen X. I don't even know what I am. I'm 22, but I use apps. Sorry. So I use the Booking.com app. It was great. I booked my stay in New York, actually multiple different places for me because I'm going to be in different parts of New York. So yes, I use Booking.com. Technically not a rival city for our Angels, but I'm going to see a Mets game or a Yankees game. Certainly not my team. But that's the point of this is Booking.com. They'll hook you up with hotels, with whatever you need, different types of stays. If you're in a nice tropical place, they'd hook you up with a resort. If you're where I am, where I just need a shoebox to stay in New York for a relatively affordable price, Booking.com, the place to go. So from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. And today's show is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. We are back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast, and the Angels are an absolute disgrace. 5 consecutive losses. You lose one to the Tigers to end the series. You get swept by the Oakland A's, and now you fall to the previously 40-48, now 41-48 Chicago Cubs. And once again, another game where there's absolutely no fight. Take me back. I never thought I'd say this, but take me back to the games where the Angels were down 7-1 and would score 4 runs or 5 runs in the 9th, just to make you think for a second you could win. Because right now, we don't even get to think for a second that we're going to win. The second the Angels immediately fall behind 2-0 in the first inning, you know it's over. And then the second you see the first inning, the second inning, the third inning, the fourth inning, with absolutely no life offensively, you know it's over. You know that even though this team loves to have no life in the first 3 or 4 or 5 innings, and then in the 7th, 8th, 9th, come back, whether it's a close game or whether it's a game they're getting blown out in. Right now, this current state of the team, they don't even have the life, the passion, the mental headspace, the fortitude, anything, any adjective, any attribute, characteristic you want to think of, they don't have any of it to come back in a game right now. So they fall behind 3-0. It ends up being 5-1 in the 6th, and you know it's over. You don't even need to blink or think for a second because it's over. If you didn't watch this one, first off, congratulations to you. But secondly, I'll tell you what happened after the Angels did nothing in the first inning, of course. An interesting start for Griffin Canning. This guy just can't dodge giving up runs in the first inning. It's getting really weird at this point, like really weird. He is so bad in the first inning, Griffin Canning. I don't even know what the first inning ERA is now. At one point, it was 12. I think it's gotten worse because he's given up a run in the first inning like every single game. And he gets 2 outs to start the first. He gets a fly out to Taylor Ward. Then he gets another fly out in which Taylor Ward makes a sliding catch that was great, but apparently great enough for it to be a huge day for Taylor Ward. Don't let me start that rant again. But even after 2 outs for Griffin Canning, and even after I foolishly go, wait, Griffin Canning might actually get through a first inning without giving up a run. Nope. Cody Bellinger singles on a ground ball into right field. He ripped it. 100.7 exit velo. Ripped it. A 1-2 slider just below the knees, probably not low enough. Kind of not in the great spot. It's right down the middle, but low. And Bellinger rips it for a hard ground ball. Kind of his trademark. Loves to hit low pitches with that golf swing he has. And then Seiya Suzuki crushes one. Absolutely unloads on another 2-strike count. I don't know what Griffin Canning was thinking here. You throw two fastballs to get ahead 0-2. You throw a fastball way over the plate or way high, and then a curveball way outside. It's 2-2. I guess the fastball's okay, but he doesn't throw it up or in enough, and ends up being kind of in the meat zone for a home run swing, and that's exactly what Suzuki does. 104.6 exit velo, 416 feet to center field. He crushed it, and suddenly that small chance of a first inning without a run for Griffin Canning is immediately 2-0. I mean, my goodness, just like that, it's already a disaster. And then it looked like it was going to get worse. He walks Ian Happ. He gives up a single to Christopher Morel. It's 1st and 3rd with 2 outs, but thank goodness he strikes out Dansby Swanson. And I only say thank goodness in the moment because after the fact, of course, who cares? It doesn't matter. You're already down 2-0. You didn't even have more than 2 hits. Disgraceful. But it was not done there. The 3rd inning, Griffin Canning gives up another run on just kind of a weird inning. You have a leadoff walk, which Cardinals sin number 1. Leadoff walk, gets a ground out, but Bush gets to second. Then there's a balk. That is infuriating. Suzuki, while he's up, Bush gets to go to third. And you seem, once again, Canning fooled you again. You think you dodge a run. 1 out, runner on third, you get Suzuki to pop up. 2 outs, the sac fly opportunity is no longer there. The productive out opportunity is no longer there. But then he just gives up a single to Ian Happ on an annoying 3-1 pitch that wasn't a strike, a changeup down and away, not a terrible pitch. Don't even know why I swing at that at 3-1, but it ends up being a base hit. A little unlucky. I'm not going to rip Canning for that one so much, but it's 3-0 now. And then in the 5th, he gives up one more run to cap off his poor performance. He gives up a leadoff double to Michael Busch. So ironically, the first couple of times, getting ahead in the innings and then falling apart, but this time a leadoff double. He strikes out Cody Bellinger, and then Hunter Strickland comes in, gets Suzuki to fly out once again, and then once again, it's a 2-out RBI single from Ian Happ. Once again, a changeup outside. Once again, hit very softly, but I don't even want to complain, think the Angels are unlucky or anything. When you don't show any fight offensively, you don't really deserve to even be in games. So just like that made it 4 runs. That run would be attributed to Griffin Canning. He finishes with 4 1/3 innings pitched, gives up 6 hits, 2 walks. He had 4 strikeouts, 4 earned runs, and that home run, of course. Not great, not awful. Like I say on the graphic here, I'm not even going to really blame the pitching when you just see that you have no fight from your offense. It just increases the pressure that much. But Strickland obviously gave up that hit, didn't end up being a run against him, but he did give up the hit that scores a run. Hans Kraus came in. He gave up 1 more run. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. 2 hits, 1 earned run in his inning. Garcia, shutout inning. Carson Fulmer, shutout inning. But at this point, who cares? So the Angels give up 5 runs. Griffin Canning does not have a great start. He falls to 3-9, and he's really, like I said, getting into that territory of veteran that should clearly not be here after the deadline, but veteran that has been so underwhelming that you might not even get much for him at the deadline, and maybe that makes you keep him. Who knows? But embarrassing, disgraceful, frustrating. I'm going to take my last break. I'm going to read these ads, and then I'm going to read your comments first and foremost. And then I'm going to talk about, is there any adjustments that need to be made? Obviously, you can throw out any playoff race talk out the window, but what do I want to see from the lineup? I don't need to talk about trades. You know what I've said about that for a while, but Rengifo out right now, still no Trout, Drury on and off, still no Rendon yet. What do I want to see? I'll talk about it for a few minutes after the last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Now look, here at Locked On, the entire network, Postcast, the daily podcast, everything else, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. Playoffs? We don't know what that is, the Angels fans. We don't know what that is. But regardless of when we're giving you that coverage, it's year-round. But you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. They're going to bat for me. I'm 22. I'm moving all over the place. I was just in Westwood. Now I'm home for a couple weeks. Back to LA. I have this job, multiple jobs, income coming in, a lot of expenses going out. How do I handle it all? I let the tax experts at Tax Network USA handle it for me. Because with over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or you finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And be sure to mention the Locked On Angels Postcast at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. You gotta love that. Finally, today's show is brought to you by Ibotta, Ibotta. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? Oh yeah. With Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases, so you can spend more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them and the costs. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. That is key, right? Everything is so darn expensive right now. At the very least, you might as well get cash back when you're spending $20 for a lunch, because that's what it is right now. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or that fancy dinner you've been craving. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. We are back here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. This is the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. I am Gavin Carlson, and the Angels are terrible. 5 losses in a row, coming off a 6-game winning streak, coming off of delusion being inserted into our veins, injected into our veins. We are right back to where we started. 15 games under 500, 36-51 after a 5-1 defeat to the 7 games under 500 Chicago Cubs. Just 2 hits and another complete game by another starter against the Angels. Steele, 9 innings, just 2 hits allowed, just 1 earned run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. His ERA now down to 2.95. He has been great, but the Angels have also been terrible. I'm going to quickly read everyone's comments, quickly look forward, and we'll get out of here and let you enjoy your Friday evening, your Friday night on this holiday weekend. Happy July 5th, day after July 4th. Shout out to everybody that was in here yesterday. I was really surprised by the amount of people in here, even on a holiday, so I appreciate that. Quickly through the comments, Daniel Burry, he said hello, as always. Shout out to you. Appreciate you for always being here. Fred Alex says they need to trade the whole team, but O'Hoppe, Trout, Nolan, Shanuel, Rengifo, and Neto. Yeah, at this point, that's pretty fair. The veterans that have been even remotely performing, the Pilars, the Taylor Wards to some degree, I mean, really, 236, not really. Those guys all got to go. Certainly the Carlos Estevez's, he's been great. His trade value is as high as it'll ever be. He's got to go. I think you can still get something for Hunter Strickland. I think you can still get something for Luis Garcia. Get rid of all of them. If you can get anything, if you can get 2 bags of chips, that's better than 1 bag. Do it. Right now we have no bags of chips, so you might as well get a couple bags of chips for these veterans. Yeah, so I agree. Trade everybody. They all stink. They all don't look like they even care anymore at this point. Saucy James, welcome back. He says, I wouldn't be surprised if Wash resigns and retires. Maybe we're lucky and he needs the money. I don't know how much to blame Ron Washington, because certain things are certainly terrible on his part. The lineup construction has not been great. Certainly part of it, I think, is upper management telling him, when we see Adele and Moniak in the lineup every day, that is upper management telling him, we need to see what we have in these guys. And it makes sense. The Angels aren't competing for anything this year. You got to see over a full half of a season if you get something from Adele and Moniak. And if you don't, then it's time to give up on them. But we have now seen it enough. It is time to give up. And so the good thing, the only good thing about this stretch, and it's ironic because, please, I would have much rather had, instead of the 6-game winning streak and the 6-game losing streak, just give me the Angels from a month ago where you're still not great, but at least every once in a while, O'Hoppe's coming through with a home run, and every once in a while, Neto's coming through with a 2 RBI double. Right now, the young guys aren't doing anything. The old guys aren't doing anything. Nobody's, doing anything, and that's worse. The worst of all of this is when no one's doing anything. So trade values are in the dumps, but the one thing I was saying, the one good thing about this stretch is there is absolutely zero chance that a person with a working brain in the Angels front office, which I don't know if there's a person with a working brain in the Angels front office, but if there is a single person, there's no way he or she looks at this and goes, we should maybe keep anybody, maybe buy someone at the time. No chance. So that's the only good thing, is that after that 6-game winning streak, there might have been some delusional people saying, oh, maybe you keep everybody at the very least, or maybe even go acquire people and try to make the run at a very weak ALS. No, for the love of everything, no. So this streak certainly confirms we're sellers at the deadline, and certainly means get rid of every veteran that's ever existed. I don't know how much to blame Wash for this, because he's had to play an Adele and a Moniak every night instead of a Kevin Pillar. He's had to do stuff like that. He's had to deal with a team that he thought was going to have Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon and Patrick Sandoval and Reed Detmers and Chase Silseth and, all of that. He hasn't had any of that, but we were promised small ball. We really haven't had it much. We were promised competence. We haven't had it much. So he certainly deserves to be criticized, but I wouldn't blame him if he just left because he doesn't want to deal with this anymore. MCAT says, hey fam, with the laughing emoji. Terrible weekend for Angels baseball. Absolutely. He also says, no chips for us. Adele is great when he's on fire, but he's just lost it. He was on fire for like 2 weeks, and that's about it. He also says, no working brains for us. Yes. No chips. We don't get anything in the trade market, and we don't have any people with brains in the front office. Finally, Saucy James says, Hendricks starting tomorrow for the Cubs with a 7.4 ERA. Can't wait to see what a complete game shutout does for his numbers. Wow, that is absolutely perfect, absolutely fitting. Please just don't make it 6 losses in a row and completely erase that winning streak. Because then we're on sweep watch again. And at this point, I just want a little bit of respect. I don't want to be the clown show of the league getting swept by the A's and Cubs in back-to-back series. But with all that being said, we're already at the 30 minutes. I was going to talk a little bit about the lineup. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I don't like I don't like Taylor Ward leading off. I'd rather see Pilar lead off, honestly. He's more mobile. His average is better. He's also more liked by Angel fans. Who knows? But Hendricks coming up tomorrow. That's a righty, obviously. So we expect to see Calhoun back in the lineup. We'll probably see Moniak. Hopefully it's Moniak and not Adele. Adele's got to sit down. Maybe it's Moniak instead of him. Who knows if we see Keston Hira in the lineup. Obviously a righty going against a righty. But who even cares at this point, man? Who even cares? MCAT leaving us with chin up, Gavin. We've got to win sometime. Maybe. Yeah, who knows? Maybe indeed. But whether we win or lose, I will be back here tomorrow after the game. I'm not going to anticipate this being a 1 hour game like it was today. So I will try to be here closer to 15 minutes after the game ends, not 30 plus. But thank you to everybody for being in here regardless. Appreciate the support as always. It's really hard to build a community around a team that stinks so bad, but we're still doing it. So shout out to all of you in here. Appreciate all the support, all the kind words always. Please leave a like on the video. It helps out so much. We're trying to reach as many Angels fans as possible. So please leave a like on the video. That helps us so much. YouTube and their algorithm and everything. Leave a comment. That helps so much as well. And subscribe. That helps so much as well. And if you listen on the podcast platforms, give us a 5-star review. It would be so greatly appreciated. But with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson. The Angels lose 5-1. The Angels have lost 5 in a row. I'll be back here after the game tomorrow, and hopefully you will be here with me. So I'm signing off. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Stay sane, please, and don't let this team ruin your mood. Take care. I'm going to go find out who won that soccer game. Take care, everybody.